at this point. I mean, we say the same thing. Our love for Marvel is based on the books that we read as kids and the books that we fell in love with. The one series that, we adored growing up was Secret Wars. It's incredibly ambitious. It would be bigger than Infinity War and Endgame, but it's a massive undertaking. And, those two movies were, very, very hard to make. So trying to imagine making another two movies even bigger than those two, we're going to have to sleep on it.
The Russo brothers are back at Marvel Studios, and this is a lot bigger than a lot of people realize. Most people are familiar with who the Russo brothers are, but in case you don't know who they are, they directed Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Captain America Civil War, and Captain America the Winter Soldier. These films right here that they have directed are regarded as some of the best films and the best films in the MCU to ever come from Marvel Studios, and now Marvel Studios has brought them back as producers on Captain America Brave New World. And this is very interesting because it comes at quite an interesting time where they are doing reshoots for the film. And this is a movie that is kind of similar to Blade in the fact that the script has been rewritten a lot and they have recently rewritten it again. So here come the reshoots. They even rewrote it to the point to where they added Giancarlo Esposito's character. We had never seen his character before. Then when they started to do reshoots, he popped up. So they added him into the script and he teased us stating that he's going to be in an upcoming series. So that means they teased him in Captain America Brave New World. They rewrote him in to increase the hype. And now it seems like they're bringing the Russo brothers in for some help. Now, the way that everybody found out that the Russo brothers are producers for Captain America Brave New World is because their names were posted on independentartistgroup.com. And this news is great as far as Captain America Brave New World goes, but I think this goes bigger than just Captain America Brave New World. I think this could actually be a really big thing for Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. And again, this news comes at a very interesting time because we've heard that Shawn Levy is the top choice from Marvel Studios to direct Avengers 5. However, we have recently heard a report that Shawn Levy is actually tied up in another project and probably won't be able to direct Avengers 5. So not too long after that report comes out, about a week later, we get a report that the Russo brothers are now producers on Captain America Brave New World. And this would be the first Marvel project that they would be involved with since Avengers Endgame. The Russo brothers stated after Avengers Secret Wars that they wanted to go out and do their own thing, take a break from Marvel, but it's been many years now. And in all honesty, right now, the MCU could use them. And the best part is, the Russo brothers have stated plenty of times that what would bring them back to the MCU would be Avengers Secret Wars, a chance to tackle that film. And they themselves say that the film is going to be bigger than Avengers Endgame. And they made Avengers Endgame, they directed it. And again, it's quite literally the only project that they said themselves would bring them back to the MCU. So is this the beginning of that actually happening? The Russo brothers directing Avengers Secret Wars. Now, real quick, we have to address the fact that at San Diego Comic-Con in 2022, Kevin Feige did say that he wants to work with the Russo brothers again. However, at that moment, he stated that it's not going to be Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 that he works with them on. He said, and I quote, "We love them and they love us. We want to find something to do together, but it's not this," end quote. And maybe he meant that at the time. However, a lot has happened since then. We've had a lot of delays. We've had the writers and actor strikes. And quite frankly, we've had kind of a lot happen over at Marvel Studios that isn't necessarily good. And I'm talking about behind the scenes with all of these reshoots and rewrites and losing directors and writers and getting new ones, etc. Plus, not to mention they haven't done incredible at the box office. So maybe Kevin Feige meant this when he said this, but things can certainly change. And possibly at the same time, maybe he didn't even mean it because, of course, like we always talk about on the channel, he can't just simply come out and say, yeah, the Russo brothers are going to direct the next two films, the next two Avengers films. However, at the time, he probably did mean it, but we know that the plans for Avengers 5 have changed since the whole Jonathan Majors situation, unfortunately. And here's the deal. Bob Iger, when talking about the future of Disney, and particularly Marvel Studios, he said that Marvel is going to take a step back and focus more on their bigger franchises and not introduce so many lesser known characters and focus more on the bigger ones. And he even stated that they've had to cancel some projects, and sometimes you just have to do that, which is why we are really looking forward to San Diego Comic-Con and Disney's D23 this year, because we need some clarity about what is happening in the MCU. We need to know the full Phase 5 slate and Phase 6 slate. Who knows what the order is now when everything is going to release? Who knows what shows have been canceled? And who knows if the Russo brothers could be popping out on stage with Marvel Studios to announce that they're going to be directing Avengers Secret Wars. So Bob Iger states they're going to focus more on their more popular franchises, and who else better to direct one of the biggest movies of all time, and certainly the biggest Marvel Studios film that they're going to attempt to make, than the Russo brothers, who directed the currently biggest 2 Marvel films of all time. And not to mention, at one point in time, the biggest movie of all time until Avatar re-released in theaters. Again, you cheaters. But now it is sitting at second biggest movie of all time. They're literally perfect for the job, and I don't really think that there's really anybody else out there that could do a better job. Because as you saw in the beginning, the Russo brothers are huge fans of the storyline of Avengers Secret Wars. They read it when they were kids growing up. That is why Avengers Endgame and Infinity War worked so well with the Russo brothers, because they're actual fans and they know the content and they keep up with the MCU. They know everything that's going on. If we bring it back to the Marvels, the director for that film didn't know the MCU, didn't know the core material. In fact, it's been really noted that she actually had to call director of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton, and ask him what the heck was going on and what some of these things meant. The point of that story is to say it does matter that your directors know the core material, know the comics, and know everything that has happened in the MCU so far. And we already know that the Russo brothers are capable of this. Again, because Endgame and Infinity War. So it is really curious that Marvel Studios has them as producers for Captain America Brave New World. Perhaps this was just more of a first step into making Avengers Secret Wars. Perhaps they called them in, and while they were at it, they were like, hey, we're kind of struggling with Captain America Brave New World. You guys directed the last 2 Captain America films, Endgame and Infinity War, which had Captain America in it. Could you help us out a little bit? Maybe they did. Maybe they helped consult, and maybe that's how they get producer credits. But I'm hoping that they actually called them in to direct Avengers Secret Wars, or even if they called them in just to help on Captain America, I'm hoping Kevin Feige at least mentioned Avengers Secret Wars, or maybe the Russo brothers themselves mentioned it, because they have seen everything that is going on with Marvel Studios. And honestly, if I were them and I've seen everything going on, I would actually want to intervene and say, hey, can I do Secret Wars? Because I'm actually kind of concerned that it's not going to be the best movie it possibly could be unless me and my brother direct it. I would not be surprised if that is something going on in their heads right now, since they do really want to see that movie come to life. And even if they haven't talked about it at Marvel Studios yet, I hope they would eventually. I think it would be foolish to have 2 of the best directors out there for Marvel Studios who crushed it with 2 of your biggest movies, 4 of your biggest movies really, if you include Civil War and The Winter Soldier. They crushed it, and they stated publicly that they would come back to direct Avengers Secret Wars and that they are huge fans of the storyline. I think it would be just a huge missed opportunity if Marvel didn't even discuss it with them. But I think that given the MCU has been kind of rocky recently as far as numbers are concerned, it's a big possibility that they've already talked to the Russo brothers about Secret Wars, especially if it's going to be a 2-part film, because they did Infinity War and then Endgame, of course, and that really helped with the continuity. So they could do Avengers 5, then Secret Wars, or if Secret Wars is a 2-part film, they could do both parts. I want this to happen. I want them to return to direct these 2 films, but what do you think? What do you want? Would you want this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on the MCU. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.